here's essentially what you're going to need to do to get ready for a raid, and then what's going to happen post-raid. On launch day, 3rd of December, I'll make this raid. On launch day, everybody's going to be in the same gear that they're in right now. You're going to level up, you're going to hit level cap, and the only things that are going to be available to you to gear up from this point are your uncapped tomestones and everything up to this point. Right, this is all that gets released at this point. So right now you have access to uncapped tomes, uncapped, and then all of this content to gear up with. So the way this is going to work is you're going to hit level cap, you're going to get your artifact gear probably, which is typically tied to the role quests. It's going to be a little bit different this time because we saw on the media tour that it was going to be level 89 instead of 90. We'll have to wait and see how that actually interacts. But essentially, you get your artifact gear, you use that gear to then farm your EX trials and to farm your uncapped tomestones. The uncapped tomestones come out at launch, and you can just get as many of those as you want, and they will give you eye level 570 gear, and that's going to be every piece except only one ring. And that's like a very easily farmable bits. The content you're going to do for that is things like dungeon spamming. You're going to do things like hunts are going to be really, really good for that as well, because you'll be doubling down and also getting materia at the same time. Anything that's level capped will give you these tomestones of aphorism. Once you have your aphorism and all your gear, the only upgrades that you have within that time is EX trials. And the way that this has worked historically is that there are 2 EX trials that are released on the initial launch, and the only drops that they will have are accessories and a weapon. So you'll have an eye level 580 weapon, eye level 580 accessories, except for one ring because it only drops one ring. So your pre-raid bis at this point, before the normal mode comes out, is going to be all of your aphorism gear with an EX trial weapon, EX trial accessories, but one aphorism ring. So you're all in 570 or 580 gear. Now, when the normal mode raid releases, which is here, 2 weeks after regular release, you also get this, this normal raid gear releases. And this is going to be all for 580 gear, but it's weekly lockout. And you get tokens and you can trade in specific pieces. We still don't know how the tokens are going to work this time, but we can kind of guess that the it's going to work similar to before, and that you can essentially get 3 or 4 total pieces. Getting chests or pants as their higher stat value pieces will mean that you can get less pieces overall because they take more tokens. And at the moment, the way that it currently works is every single normal mode raid will drop one of each type of token that you need. You're not locked out by attempts, you're locked out by loot. So you can do this over and over again until you get the one piece of loot per fight that you want, which is very good. Also, keep in mind that all of this information and the eye levels and things like that are based on historical formula and the way that this has worked for many years now. So they could change it up now, but I'm not expecting that to happen. So the normal mode will release. After that, you've got 2 weeks of getting your normal mode gear. And so you'll end up with only a few pieces of 570 gear left. You'll have your EX trial weapon, you'll have your EX trial accessories, and you'll probably be filling out these 570 pieces that you still have on your left-hand side with normal raid pieces. Hat, gloves, boots are usually really safe bets. We don't even have a belt anymore to replace that with. So the chest and pants are obviously the big ticket items. Which pieces you will personally get are going to be dependent on your class, and the reason is that they're going to have different substats from job to job, and different jobs want different substats. So you will have to look in like your class Discord and things like that as you go through. Right, and then raid will release. So at this point you should be in your technically pre-raid bis, which is almost all 580, and then you'll have a couple pieces of 570 that are still stuck in there. And then with that, you're going to be farming the first few bosses. The first 2 bosses can be killed very easily with this gear, but if you're wanting to week 1 kill like the 3rd and 4th boss, this is where the crafted gear becomes very important. These are tuned around this crafted gear being on you. This is raid release. Savage mode. Something else also happens this week, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So if you're wanting to kill the raids as soon as possible, getting this crafted gear is huge. Most of the time, the fights aren't really killable. It's like possible, but you gotta be ridiculously good to kill it in anything other than the baseline crafted 580 pentamelded gear. But what also happens is on this release date, you get the capped tombstone release. So you would have seen in, if you're playing the game right now, these right here, right? So you've got your capped tombstones that you can get weekly lockouts of. That's going to be this one here, the astronomy. And that's going to give you 590 baseline gear, which you can then upgrade with raid drops to 600. The raid itself will also drop eye level 600 pieces too. One small change to how it currently works is that there will be a week 2 weapon available, but to get that weapon you need to have beaten the 3rd fight. So that's really just there to help out people who are struggling for damage in the 4th fight. Most groups don't need to worry about it. It's going to be like a judgment call in your group if you do it or not. But to beat the raid tier, all you need is this crafted gear. So you can show up week 1, get all this crafted gear, blitz it all out, be good. And then with your capped gear, you're going to slowly pick up these 590 pieces, and then when you get the upgrade materials from the raid, the 2nd and 3rd fights, you will turn those into I600 gear. The raid itself will also drop 600. And that's it. That's your gearing for the first 7 months. Everything up to this point is kind of cool and exciting. Everything after this point is very static, you know exactly which pieces you're getting week by week. And then there's also the books, obviously, that you get to sort of guarantee loot down the line. But that's it. Until Ultimate comes out, this is your gearing progression, and then once Ultimate comes out, there's no new gear, there's only going to be a single weapon that comes from it, which will be better by 1 meld slot. Excellent. Hope that helps.